Hi, this is Patricia Martucci, licensed marriage and family therapist, eating disorder specialist, and EMDR therapist, as well as somatic experiencing practitioner. And what I want to talk about today is the beach and body image. I have been getting from my clients since the beginning of the summer all the way until now, and still ongoing as the last month of summer is unfolding. I've been having many conversations about body image and how to feel comfortable in our bodies, specifically at the beach and when we're wearing less clothing due to the heat. And I have a couple of tips that I wanted to bring in here, and some of what I talk to my clients about, that they've shared, they've found helpful. So one of the things that I like to do as well, and I practice what I preach. So I love to go to the beach. And one of the things that I recommend for body image is, first of all, shifting from our heads and the thinking brain into our body. And, we can practice doing some embodiment exercises that kind of bring us more into our physical experience. A lot of the time with eating disorders, we tend to live in our heads and in the thinking mind. And so, because the body can be so uncomfortable, either as a result of trauma ongoing or just poor body image. And when we're hurting our body with food or without food, or whatever we're doing, it's not always a comfortable place to be living present in. And so what we can do is sort of retreat into our minds. So I think with eating disorders specifically, a lot of the problem resides in our mind. And what we want to do, when we're trying to work through body image, one of the things, there's many things, is to transition from the mind to the body. And so when we're in the body, we're not outside of our body, staring at our body in the mirror, or, body checking in, from other sources too. We can use many, which I won't go into. I don't want to trigger anybody on here, but when we're in our body, when we're feeling our sensations that we experience in our body. So for example, the five senses, we have our sense of sight. So I'm going to go through this as if we were at the beach, right? So we're getting to the beach, we're feeling a little bit uncomfortable in our bodies, or a lot uncomfortable for some of us. And we're starting to feel the negative body image come in, and we're hearing a bit of the narrative in our head. So what we can do is drop into our sense of sight to start. So we can kind of just orient a little bit. And what that might look like is just sort of looking around and letting our eyes sort of go where they want to. We're not directing our eyes in any particular direction. We're kind of just looking around. And specifically at the beach, I think it can be so nice to orient, because we're sort of looking around, and we'll oftentimes see the beautiful ocean water. We'll see the sand. We might see some seagulls flying around. We might see other people enjoying themselves and relaxing. And so we can take some time to just sort of take in the environment and experience, what it feels like from the body to really just experience the day, experience life. Also, we can drop into our sense of smell, taking a moment to kind of take in the smell, the ocean, the saltwater, ocean, air. Sometimes, there's other smells. I'm trying to think of what different smells it could be. Suntan lotion, that coconut smell. It could be food if you're snacking at the beach. But whatever the smells are, taking a minute to take that in. We're also gonna wanna take in the sounds. So whatever sounds, so just like taking a moment when we're there and we're engaging in, maybe there's often seagulls, the waves are crashing sometimes. Maybe the sound of people having fun, children yelling and screaming. So different sounds. And our sense of taste, we can engage in that if we're so inclined, through food and mindful eating. And that's another way to sort of get into our bodies. And the last one is one that I love, and it's a sense of touch. So it's really just feeling our feet in the sand, letting our feet sink into the sand a little bit, as we're in the water, letting our bodies sort of feel the ocean water, the salt water take in. I love that feeling of just, kind of like a mermaid or a dolphin, just going through the waves, like diving in. I grew up going to the beach, so, we used to play games with the waves. And, also the sun, if the sun's out, hopefully it is, and shining, then, taking in that vitamin D. And so there's ways to really be in our body and to feel the experience of the sensory experience of being in a physical body when we're at the beach that can a lot of the time help us to really get out of our thinking brain and really more so into the sensory experience. So that's one thing that I will recommend, my clients do. And oftentimes it can shift our attention and shift our focus from one of being outside the body, judging ourselves, right? Like we're disconnected from our body when we're outside of it and judging ourselves, and shifting more so to the place of really embodiment, and feeling our physical experience. Other things we can do is if we put one hand on our chest and one on our stomach and take a couple deep breaths, that can often regulate our system and bring us a bit from our minds into our bodies. I love doing that. There's also a tool that my clients really love, and I like it myself, and I'm always impressed by it. It's something called pendulation, and I learned it in somatic experience. And so basically what we do with pendulation is we're going to scan the body, and we're going to see the first thing we notice. And if we have negative body image, oftentimes as we're going inward, the first thing that we notice is going to be uncomfortable. We might, and that uncomfortability oftentimes can lead us to leaving our body again and going into our heads. So with the pendulation, what we do is we're going to scan, we're going to notice what's uncomfortable, because that's usually what comes first. And we're going to be with that for a moment. And then what we're going to do is we're going to scan the body, and we're going to find a place within the body that feels okay, either pleasant, pleasurable, or neutral. And the thing with pendulation that I find so interesting and fascinating is we can use this in all aspects of life. So what it really taught me and continues to teach me is that oftentimes our attention for survival purpose is focused on what is uncomfortable, what's wrong first. And this can be inside of our bodies, inside of ourselves. It can also be outside of ourselves, and all around us. And we have to, if we're looking to survive, we want to know now, as we're talking about bodies, we want to know what's going on and what feels uncomfortable with our bodies so that we can reassure ourselves that we're okay and that we're safe. So our attention is always going to go to what's uncomfortable. Unfortunately, if we have, negative body image, it's not the easiest thing to go to the uncomfortable feeling and reassure ourselves that we're okay. With OCD, that's really hard too. It's difficult with health anxiety as well. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to really find the place in our body that feels okay. So we're going to acknowledge, okay, I'm not feeling great today. My stomach feels bloated. I hear that a lot. Or, I feel just physically uncomfortable. It's like, okay, let's be with that for a moment. Let's acknowledge that's happening. That's your experience. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go a little bit deeper and scan your body and see, is there a place anywhere? It can be, I say, as small as, a fingernail, something really small. But is there a place inside that feels neutral or pleasant? And so as I'm scanning my body, it's like, yeah, I feel my stomach feels a bit pleasant and neutral. So what I would do is spend some time in that place that feels okay, and notice that, just because our attention goes to what's uncomfortable first, there's a lot of stuff going on internally in our bodies. If there wasn't a lot of good stuff going on in our bodies, we wouldn't even be here. You know, our heart's pumping, we have blood flowing through our veins. There's many things that are happening. We have like air circulating through our system, and those are all great things. So there's definitely some place inside that feels okay. The problem is that if we're stuck, you know, in a cycle of negative body image, or this happens in chronic pain too, we can just stay there and feel uncomfortable, and we can forget to just kind of go a little bit deeper and notice all the things that are working well. So and we can stay there, and that can be enough. The term pendulation, what that means is, well, it's when we go from kind of like a pendulum swings, and it's kind of when we go from what feels uncomfortable, then we shift to what's the comfortable, pleasant feeling, and then we're with that for a bit, and then we shift back to the part that's uncomfortable. Oftentimes when we shift back, the uncomfortability has decreased, kind of like when we swing a pendulum. You know, we go from one end to the other, and then it starts to kind of neutralize. The same thing happens in our system. So if we're focusing on what's uncomfortable, and you know, we're there, and then we stay with that, and we go to what feels better. We stay with that for some time, and, you know, really kind of focus our attention on there, and then we go back to the uncomfortable place. It's oftentimes shifted and decreased in the intensity of discomfort. And we can do that with body image as well. So what we can do is find the place inside that feels okay, you know, and another exercise we can do is just be with that place that feels okay. We can breathe into it. We can see, what color is it? You know, can we expand upon it? You know, let's breathe into it. Let's build capacity. There's all these different tools that we can use to help ourselves this summer feel great inside of our body. Or, you know, if we're not looking to feel great, we can feel, you know, at worst, you know, maybe neutralized. And at best, we can feel free and excited to be running around the beach and wherever. I live in the city, and so running around the city, you know, enjoying the pleasures that the summertime brings. And that is what I would suggest to do as one of the things to really allow yourself time and space to enjoy this time of year. And I want to validate that it can be really, really hard, and not to minimize if we're going through eating disorder recovery, or, you know, we're stuck in an eating disorder. This can sound a lot easier than it actually is to do. I really want to encourage people who are struggling to reach out, you know, to a healthcare professional so that you can get some relief and hopefully get some help on your journey. So I hope this helped.